Hello there, it's Michelle from CNC Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from New Zealand. And today I'd like to share with you some tips and tricks for using the Tombstone Treat Boxes, which are on page 50 of the mini catalog from Stampin' Up! So here's the page there. Here's one that's got some chocolates in it and a cutout on the front, and there's one of the solid treat boxes. So I'm going to show you how to use these treat boxes and show you some decorating ideas as well. So they're quite large, so you can see there's my hand, and it's quite big, and they come in a packet of 8. However, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, that you can get more than 8 out of those. So some of the ones I'll show you today will have some retired items on them, like this is a retired DSP and a retired stamp. But I'm going to show you different ways that you can decorate them. So let's just talk about the treat boxes themselves. As I said, they come in a pack with 8 boxes in there. So when you open it up, you'll actually have 16 pieces. So just want to show you, if you grab one from the front and then grab one from the back, they're actually 2 different sizes. So if you turn them over and put them on each other, you can see that one, the box is slightly smaller than the other one. Now the reason for that is they come together so they can you can stand them up and have a tombstone on both sides. So I'll show you how to put them together to start with. Get my bone folder here. You don't need anything to put them together to use just plain, but a bone folder is handy. So they're already pre-scored. So if you fold it over on the score lines, and there's also adhesive that comes with it, so you don't even need adhesives, they just go together straight away. So on all the score lines, I just like to reinforce it with my bone folder. You could just use your fingers to do that. We've got the top part there, and then both sides. And then, if you just fold in the two sides, so you got your little flaps there, just fold them until they're standing up. Peel off the backing for the double-sided tape that's already included in the pack. And then when you hold it in place, just put that over and gently push it down. Don't push it down too hard yet, because you just want to make sure these corners meet up, because that's going to stick against these flaps here, the glue will. So you want it to be pressed all the way down, and then the 2 edges in enough to hold them in place so they come together nicely on the corners. So again, you just peel off the backing of the double-sided tape. Make sure your 2 flaps are inward, fold it over, and as you can see, it goes in slightly, so the edges will come together perfectly straight. So you can see there, hopefully, you can see that it comes in slightly on the edge there. So hold those 2 pieces in together, simply fold the top over, make sure your sides are pushed in as far as they can go before you then press. Alright, so when you're putting them together, you've got a front and a back. So I'll just quickly put this one together to show you the differences. I already showed that they're different sizes. So just peel off again, just peel it off, peel them over. That one's sticking out a bit. Go over the edge and just make sure your 2 sides are pushed together fully before you stick it together. And these treat boxes, which I'll also show you in a second, are nice big size to hold lollies and other things. You can even get a gift card in there, whatever you'd like. So they look the same on the front. Those are exactly the same frontages. They look the same on the back. However, one box is slightly smaller, so you can just simply fit them together like that. They can stand up, so you have a front and a back. You can stand them up to use as decoration for the table, which is great if you're having it where you can see both sides of them. And as I said, they're quite generous size in that you can fit things like Ferrero Rocher. I can fit, I think, 4 Ferrero Rocher in there. There we go. There's my Ferrero Rocher. So, nice size there. Other things that you can fit in are a gift card would fit in there perfectly. So see, gift card fits in there perfectly. So you can have lollies and a gift card if you'd like. Other things that I've tried are Ghirardelli squares. These are the large squares. Fit in there just fine. You can do the mini squares as well. So you could do some large and some mini. They fit in the box really well. Other things, I'm on a chocolate theme here. I've got my mini Whittaker's mini chocolates. You could probably fit the normal size Whittaker's going the other way, but you can definitely fit a few of those in there. I think I could do 3 of them. Let me see. Oh, kind of fit 3 in there. So I could do 3 and then a whole nother layer, so I could have 6 in there. Bag of lollies. You got lollies bagged up. Here in New Zealand, you can usually buy bags of lollies at the shops. So there's a bag of lolly in there. You can put the lollies, throw a gift card on top, close it up. So plenty of room there. Now, when I started using things to decorate with this, I thought, what's the point of having 2 sides if it's going to be sitting at the table like that? You're not going to see the back, or if you have it up against a wall as a decoration, and again, you're not going to see the back. So, I designed my own box to put on the other side. So I will step you through how to do that, what sizes and everything. And the reason I did that, I will show you my other samples, is so you can have your box here and pull it apart and use it as a gift box. Now, if you do that and create your own box for the back side, of course, it's not double-sided, but if it's sitting down or just sitting up against a wall, it still looks lovely. And that way, you could actually make 16 out of the same pack. So with that, to do 16, you would need 1 pack of the Tombstone, and I think I got 2 back pieces per each A4 piece of cardstock. So that would be at least 4 pieces of, 8 pieces of cardstock because you're doing 16. Now there's 2 different measurements because, as I said, the backs are different sizes. So as you can see, one is slightly smaller than the other. So I've done measurements to make boxes to go in the back of either size. So I'll show you how to do that, and then I'll show you some other ideas I have for decorating. So pop those aside. The measurements I have, I did it in inches, but you can easily just convert it into centimeters or metric if you want, just online, or I might mention it while I'm here. So the first one I've already made. This one is for the large box. So it fits in there. That one, you start with a 5x6, that's my scrap notes. You start with a 5x6 inch piece of thick whisper white, basic white cardstock, and you score all around all 4 sides at 1¼ inch to make that box. The small one, which I will make for you here, slightly smaller. So this is 4 3/4 inch by 5 3/4 inch, and then again scoring at 1/4 inch on all 4 sides. So you can see I've already scored all the sides there. Okay, so once you have the sides scored on whichever size you're going to make, either the small or the large one, fold them over and burnish on the score lines. Oh, that one doesn't want to fold. Okay, then you're going to want to cut just in 4 spots. So I find it easier to cut on the long side after I've scored it. So I'm going to cut those 2 lines and then the same on the opposite side. So just snip them straight up to the score line. So we got one there and one there. And then turn it completely around, so opposite from where you've already cut, you're going to cut the same line. So cut there and cut to there. And then on the outer edge, I just do it at a slight angle. It makes it easier so you don't have any bits sticking up at the top. So just a little bit at this outside angle. Now I don't do it on the inside because I like to have that straight bit to help me line it up to glue it. Okay, so whether you're doing the large or the smaller box, that part's all the same. It's all scored at 1 1/4 inch in and cut the same way. So now just going to do some gluing. So I find it easier to do 1/2 at a time. So just pop some glue. And I use glue because with double-sided tape or anything else that might be really strong, you don't have the wiggle room. So I'm going to glue on that one and going to glue on this one. And I'm just going to then, using that flat surface there, I'm just going to put them in and then slide this part up. I'm not going to push really hard at the moment. You do kind of want to have the edges together, but don't push too hard at the moment, because you just want to check that it fits the box. So again, a bit of liquid glue on those 2 bits. Bring it up. And then this is where I just want to test it to make sure it's going to fit inside just fine. Okay, because if it's sticking out too far like that, it's not going to fit in, and if it's too far in, it might be too loose. So you just want to test it first before you squish it down, because if you find that it's too loose, you just slide, jiggle the edges out a little bit. And then once you're happy with that, just double check it again. Yep. Then you can just use your bone folder to press the insides together. So that's why I don't use tape, because I just want to make sure it's coming together right. Okay. Now another little tip for you, if you are making these boxes for the inside, is when you put them together, sometimes it's hard to pull them out. So if you got a small circle punch, this is 3/4. We don't, Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell them anymore, but if you have one, once it's put together, just slide it all the way in and punch. You could do it at the top or the bottom, just opposite sides, either way, and then another punch. So that gives me those curves, so when the box is put together, for me to take it out, I can just grab there and pull it out. So you could do it up here too. You could have those 2 there to pull it out. If you don't have a small circle punch, then you should use a die, but do it before you put it together. So if you don't have that, use a circle punch or a half circle punch, and I'll see if I've got one to show you. Anything will do, whether it's a circle or not. So like at the moment, I actually have the Playful alphabet dies out, so even that will work. And I'll show you in a minute why I have those out when I start decorating. So you could even use one of the circles there and put that, do it while it's flat, put that on there and run it through your embossing folder Because it's so thick, you're going to want to run it through a couple times, and that'll give you the curve. The other way to do it is simply take your scissors and cut a curve out. Again, it'd be easier to cut it while it's flat for those little curves. So that's how you can make the little boxes there. Let me just punch a few in here, and then I'll show you some decorating ideas. There we go. So, decorating ideas. So that's my large and that's my small box. That one's a bit loose, but that's okay. So decorating ideas. I'll show you what I've done, and then I'll decorate one here with you to follow along. So I already showed that one. These words are, I believe they're from the die set called, they're called Word Wishes. So we have a lot of different words. It's hard to tell from here. We have a lot of words that say happy, and then we have Halloween, Valentine's, anniversary, birthday, and they also go along with the Wish for Everything set that, again, has small letters in there. I've used this set in the sample I'm going to show you in a moment. So, and then that was just done in the current black glimmer paper, which is on in the new mini catalog, and I'm not sure what page that's on. And then the DSP here and that stamp are retired ones. But the moon, I used the gold vellum, but you could see through the gray on it, so I backed it with a white piece of card to do that one. This one you already saw. This one's using those letters, the dies from the Playful alphabet set to do the rest in peace. And then one of the other sets has a die for the spider web. This here is cut out using the die from the new Giving Gifts dies. So there's a little moon and stars in that set there. And while I have that out, I also use the die here, which is for the pumpkins, in one of them as well, which I use to light up. So the back of that, I simply put some of that gold glimmer vellum on the back. Another one using some retired products. This was actually from a paper pumpkin set, I think about a year ago, and that's the retired skeleton. This dirt, the skeleton's climbing out of the grave, is what I'm trying to show. I just did the early espresso, but the folder I use is the current embossing folder, and it's the time-worn type 3D embossing folder. Now, if you have a look at that, there's like some words and some rough parts on it. And when I was looking at the actual folder, to me, that almost looked like wood. Not wood, dirt, or, you know. And there are a few letters in there. They're not that easy to read. So I simply put a couple scraps of early espresso where I wanted to set it where I wanted in that embossing folder to give the look of kind of fresh dug grave is what I was going for. Hopefully it looks like that. So we got that, and then here a few retired items in this one as well. So this was a cute little owl set from last year, from last Halloween. So if you've been around and had that set, that's what I've used there. And this is the Days to Remember stamp set. That's, I believe it's in the main catalog right now. So I stamped the month of October in pumpkin, and then circled, of course, the 31st for Halloween, and then used the, I believe it's Evening Evergreen for the words there. And here I heat embossed this stamp. I'm not sure what set that's from. I believe that's from a set from last year with the pumpkins, and then I colored over them with my Stampin' Blends to give it the pumpkin patch. So that's that one there. And then I've got a couple other special ones here. So again, I bring in the owl from the set from last year. We got our spider web, and then that's with the glimmer. So you can see with the glimmer vellum, because it's vellum, it's see-through, you can see the gray in the background, so it's not quite as bright. Again, use the words here. I believe these are actually the zeros, not the O's, because the O's seemed too big for me. So I stamped the owl on a piece of vellum and then colored it with pencils. The reason I did that is because for this one I'm using a tea light. So pop the tea light in there, and there you go. So you can have that as a decoration. Kind of hard to tell the full effect. It doesn't quite look as bright. So if that's sitting on your table and you've got the lit up owl in the background. So to cut the opening for that, you could use pretty much any square rectangle die set you have, but I use the die that I got with the Welcoming Windows set. What's that called? Window Flower Box dies. And so I found the die, this die, for the window was the perfect size for that section. And I'll talk about tricks to die cutting in a minute. And so then the other one I've got here is a light up. So there we go. Again, I brought my little owl in. This was from a paper pumpkin set last year, or a couple of years ago it might be now, and stamped and heat embossed the words Happy Haunting. I think that's a retired set as well. But here's the die cut pumpkins that I showed you a little while ago. And so for this one, I backed it with the gold vellum. So that's the gold vellum that's current right now, and so we'll see how that looks. So there you go. So there you've got the light up. See, to me it looks more orange. On the camera it looks more yellow. So it depends as well, because my tea light is kind of a yellowy one. So if I had a white tea light, it would probably look a lot different. So then that's to sit up on the table with a bit of glowing in the background. So now some tips on how to do some of the things here. So first of all, if you are going to do any decorating like die cutting or heat embossing, do it while it's still flat. It's much easier to get it done that way. If you're going to die cut something there, especially if there's going to be a candle behind, think about the height of the candle. So I've die cut that up high enough so when it's sitting like this, the base of the candle isn't showing through the image. This one I think I did a bit low. You can slightly see the candle there. But when you die cut it, make sure, one, that you don't have anything in the back that's going to cut through, but be aware of where the bottom is. So for this one here, I ran it through this way. Let me show you the die. So I ran it through that way with the window die. But I wasn't really thinking about where the edge was. Fortunately, I managed to do it low enough, but I wasn't really thinking that through. But you don't want to do it too high, because that's the top here, and that's where the box is. So you need it to be below the score line, otherwise it'll be cutting through the wrong part. So the best way to do that, if you are going to do it, you can see the score lines on this side, so just make sure your die cutting is below there, below the top score line, and not beyond the bottom score line, because that's where your box is going to be. Also, when you're die cutting, be aware you're actually cutting through several layers, so it's going to be very difficult to cut through. So you want to run it through and several times, back and forth several times, depending on your die cutting machine. And so this is it. This is what comes out. That came out of this piece here, and it's actually quite thick, and you can see there's 2 layers there. So that's why it takes a while to cut through. So it does take a little while to cut through. Also think about what dies you are using, because intricate dies are very difficult to get through. So this one is kind of intricate, but because it was small, I was able to run it through. So I did have to run this back and forth 3 or 4 times to cut through all those layers. But if you have something very detailed, like say a snowflake, it's probably not going to cut through because it's going to be just too thick. If you're die cutting something like the moon and the stars there, make sure you fold down that top part, because you don't want to cut through your box. So fold that down first, and then let's see if I can find, oh, there they are. Then place your die where you want it to be. So I had my moon there, and what you want to do, let me just show you, hold on. So you layer it up, make sure that top part is folded down, so you're only cutting through this section here, and then put your other folder just over the top. Doesn't have to go the whole way. Run it through so it just goes over the die, and then run it back. So run it through your die until it pops off, and then just run it back while that die hasn't slipped out of the way, and that will cut through. That should not be very difficult to cut through, because that section of the box isn't as thick. It's only 1 layer. But you have to remember to fold this part down, because if you ran it through like that, you'd be cutting right through here, and it would be very difficult to get through. Okay, so that's that tip there. Now, let's decorate one of these boxes. Okay, pop that away, and I will bring these back into view at the end if you want to have a look at any of those. I will be listing the products that I used that are current for all these samples here at the bottom of the video, so if you do want to see any of those, they will be listed, and you know, in case you forgot what I mentioned. But some items are no longer available, like the circle punch, so you just need to find a die or use your scissors for that. So I've decided, I have prepared to show you how to decorate one of these. So we're getting to decorate one of these guys, and these products are current. So I've already prepared some things. So I made a little ghost, and the ghost I made using some dies that you probably wouldn't think to use. So I used the layering diorama dies. I used the second to smallest die. I could have used the smallest one, but it seemed to have too much of a pointy head. So I used the second to smallest die, and I die cut some white cardstock there. And then I used the Playful alphabet dies. Now I used those to cut the face out of the glimmer black paper. And what I did is this one here, which I think is actually supposed to be a 0, because I believe that's the O. So I cut that out and used the inside of the 0 for the mouth. And then here's a little die that I think it's supposed to be a semicolon, but I used that to get 2 circles cut out for the eyeballs. So there you go. So you could use, if you have a hole punch or anything else, to do little circles. So let me just show you the difference. So that's what I used to get his mouth. So that was, and I took the inside out for his mouth. But this is the actual O, which is quite large. And then you could use that for, if you're looking for a black circle, that gives you a nice black circle. For the one I did the words, boo, I used the zeros because I thought the O's were just too big. I like the look of the oval. So that's done with the B and the 2 zeros and an exclamation point. And see, there's a little dot there too. So that's how I got my little ghost. And then if you don't have those and you want some little dots, this die set here is the Pillowbox, is it? Pretty Pillowbox die set. And see here, there's 2 circles. That's meant to cut circles so you can do ribbon in your pillow box, but you could use those to cut a couple eyes out as well. So I've got that done. Then I cut out of the bark paper, I cut the tree, and the tree comes from the Beautiful Trees die set. I got this really nice big tree there. And so I did it with the bark paper, so it looked like a tree, you know, a dead tree basically, or a wintry tree. I stamped the word Halloween and used this long skinny die to do the labels. So I cut 1/2 of it out, and then I brought the other side in to get the other corner. So you can adjust the longer label dies to get smaller, do smaller words there. I used a circle die on the gold vellum to make a moon, which I'll be popping in the back there. And then I heat embossed words wishing you a trick-or-treating, candy-eating, frightful, delightful time. Say that fast 10 times. I dare you. So I heat embossed that in black on the Evening Evergreen paper. And then I could have just cut the curve there, but I used just part of the curve from this die out of the basic borders die. So that was just like one little section there. And I cut that wide enough for the edges here, which is, I think that was 7.5 centimeters. So I've got that for the bottom. And now I'm going to heat emboss, try to heat emboss the word happy in the top corner there. Now this is one where you should do it before you fold it up. So I'm going to do that because it'll be too difficult to do it on there. So I will show you on one that I haven't folded up yet. So I'm going to heat emboss in white the word happy. So I need my Versamark, and I need my white embossing powder ready to go. Yep, making a bit of a mess here. So I just want it up in the corner there. I'm going to fold this side down so I can see better. And I'm just going to do it at an angle because I'm going to end up putting the word Halloween off to the side. So I might leave that out because it gives me good pressure under there. So I'm just going to do a bit of Versamark on the back of the stamp, and hopefully I get it on where I want it to go. Nice good pressure. Yep, looks like it's there. And I'm just going to sprinkle some white powder over that edge. I just keep it in a container to keep it so it's not quite so messy. So just put a lot of powder right over the words. Doesn't matter on this about any stray powder because the background has kind of the gray bit there, so that won't matter, it'll blend in. So I'm just going to go off camera and heat emboss this, and I'll come back and let you see what it looks like. So just to show you, that's where I put it. Okay, so I've heat embossed the happy on there. And I think I already showed that stamp set. That came from the Wish for Everything. So there's that nice cursive writing word happy, and then I chose the Halloween, and then at the bottom I used the sentiments wishing you a trick-or-treating, candy-eating, frightful, delightful time. So now we'll put it together. I'll put it together while it's flat. It's always easiest to put things together while they're flat. So I've got my little moon. Now with vellum, you will see the way you stick it down. So I only want to put adhesive on one little side of that, and the best way to do it is either glue dots or some tear and tape. So I'm just going to put a little tear and tape on one edge because it'll be hidden by the tree. That's my full moon, but I just want to figure out how everything's going to look before I stick it down. I thought I might have the Halloween sticking out of the tree, possibly. And then the ghost is going to come and help to hide that as well. Okay, so I think I like the look of that. I will stick the vellum moon down. There is a stamp set that does have a moon in it. I just don't have that one, so that would be a good one for here. We're going to stick our moon right about there. And then pop the tree down. Now, with the tree, I could have used my adhesive sheet on the back before I die cut it, and it would be easier to stick down because I could just peel off the backing. But I didn't, so I'm just going to put bits of glue in a few spots. I'm not going to go too crazy on it, just enough to hold it in place, because theory this shouldn't be pulled apart unless you give it to a really small child. And just gonna do a few dots. So this would be a good time if you wanted to, if you didn't have the punch, to do the die cutting off the edges with the circle, or cut it out with your scissors. And this is great because the cork is only on one side, so you have a nice flat surface on the back to adhere things down, but the cork is just really nice. It's very thin if you haven't used the cork before. This is actually my first project using my cork. I have used it at a class I went to somewhere else, but I haven't actually used the product that I have. So, but as you can see, that's very, very thin. So the cork is done in layers. So we'll just try to stick that down. And just going to put it slightly offset, so almost looks like the tree is attacking the words. Okay, and then Halloween, I want that to be going over there, so I might add some glue on that, so I glue that in place, and I'm just going to pop a couple mini dimensionals on the back of my word, and you might see I have the word stamped on both sides because when I stamped it before, I didn't quite like the way it came out. And that's the nice thing with paper, is there's two sides to it, so you can do that kind of thing. So I'm just going to pop that in there, so it kind of looks like the tree's grabbing the words. There we go. There we go, and then have the little grassy part down at the bottom. wondering whether I should glue it down or have it sticking up. I think I'll do a bit of tear and tape to stick that down. I like tear and tape. And just, you know exactly where things are going to go. But you definitely don't want to use tear and tape if you need wiggle room. That's where Tombow is better. So let's just put this in place, and then we'll decide where to put my ghost. So that's quite cute that you can just create a little ghost from the Diorama dies. So I'm just going to do it up a bit so you can see a little bit of the gray on the edges there. Okay. And then we're going to pop our ghost on. So I'm going to put the box together because that'll give me a better idea of how the ghost sits. So again, just make sure you bend all your score lines. And practice makes perfect, so hopefully I'll be able to do this just fine. I'll just slip that over the top. Now, if you are decorating the front of these with designer series paper or anything, as I mentioned before, the front of them, whether it's the front or the back piece, is exactly the same. So the tombstone is always the same size. It's only the box that's slightly different size. So if you're making lots of these and you've designed something to fit side to side, that measurement will always be the same. So now I'm going to pop my little ghost up. Let's put some dimensionals on the back there. Just a couple dimensionals should do. Hopefully he won't fly away on me. And let's just put him in place. And so I can put that wherever I want. So this is also going to help to cover any of the adhesive done there. So I just want them so you can see a bit of the tree and everything else. There you go. So one of the boxes, oh, that's the wrong side. Where's my other one? So this is a small one. Oh, so I forgot to do my bits on the side. So I'll do this at the top of this one, just to show you can do it either side. Now, it is a bit difficult to push through because you do have multiple layers. Probably better to do the sides because this end I'm actually punching through 3 different layers. The sides I'm only going through 2. So there's another tip. It's easier to punch the sides of it than the top. But it does the same effect, so I can pull it, I can grab from there and pull it out because I've got that little curve. There you go. So that's it. Those are your tips and tricks to using the Tombstone Treat Boxes. So you get 8 front and back in here, so you actually get 16 pieces in there. So 8 smaller ones, 8 bigger ones. The only difference is that. So you can do 8 front and back ones, or you can do 16 if you do some of the ideas I have here. So we'll just bring those all back in so you can have a look at what I've already done. And if you enjoyed that, please give me a thumbs up. You can go to my website if you live in New Zealand and don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. If you'd like to purchase any of these products, go to michellekritchley.stampinup.net. I've also got some pictures there of other products I have for sale. And if you don't live in New Zealand, contact your demonstrator. You can go to stampinup.com to find a demonstrator in your area. Or if you have a demonstrator, talk to them about getting these tombstones so you can make your beautiful little boxes, treats for everybody. Remember, Halloween is October 31st, so I hope you enjoy that, and I will be listing all the different products I used below this one, at least all the current products that you can purchase from Stampin' Up. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.